You're tuned in to a Grown Folks production. In the mix with the commish, Nate.
Something happened there. My apologies. Thank you, Kevin, for letting me know there's no audio. I had to reset the audio for some random reason. Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. Already done this. We're doing it twice. I'm your host, the commish Nate. Happy Lundy Gras right here in New Orleans. Let me welcome in a little two-host day today. Your commish of the Deuce and owner of the Atlanta Falcons, Mr. Maniac, and your NFC champion, reigning champion, and owner of the Detroit Lions, Mr. Trey. Fellas, let's try that one more time. How you doing?
Doing wonderful.
Doing well now the NFL season's over. I don't have to, understand that my Lions lost the NFC championship.
Yeah, it's always a tough one to watch the team that you watch like go on and play well and be like, we should have beat them. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. My face has exploded like I am 8 years old for some random reason. It is what it is. I will hide it behind the mic just like that. Let's get this party started. We're doing something a little bit differently today. We're going to do a little live hot seat. We haven't had one of those in quite some time. And Trey was kind enough to hit me up a while back, and I've been just trying to play catch up the last couple of days. Mr. Trey, are you ready to be on the OMFL hot seat?
Hold on. Hey, receipts warm. We're ready to go.
Got to make sure that baby is nice and warm. Let's talk about your Detroit Lions sewing up the number 1 seed today against the Toronto Mounties? How would you say that?
Mounties.
You're up there. All right. The Toronto Mounties. I feel like we're watching a live show of Super Troopers 2 there. How'd that feel to finally wrap up that number 1 seed?
Well, when I beat Wayne earlier, okay, there's one of the guys I've been competition with, and then obviously Papa Money came along, and that knocked off another one of the races. Just like, can I keep pace, and can I hold Wayne back long enough? And luckily, the end streak there I had just to get past Denver and crew, and that got me enough to focus around my 2 division rivals to finish the season off. So
your Lions fall just barely short in OMFL Bowl number 107. It took some miracle plays there in that bowl game for Orlando to get the victory. But then you go all in, chips in the center of the table. We're getting rid of that quarterback, or at least sitting him because of his age, contract situation. You go out, you draft somebody, you put all the chips in, and it pays off with a number 1 seed. Tell me more about that gamble and why you knew it would pay off for your team.
It wasn't much of a gamble. It was more so I need a backup quarterback. Having Stafford and crew, I lost anything that had happened if Hendon Hooker went down. So it was draft the rookie quarterback to back him up. Then he had Head and Dev. Then he had almost the exact same stats, and he was 4 years younger. I'm like, let's try it in the preseason once we've decided that we were playing preseason just to test out the all Madden stuff. And I was like, okay, yeah, no, try the run.
Let's talk about what he's added to your team, because he has added a new element of his legs. How dynamic of a player has he been for you this season?
It's tenfold. I've seen a lot of teams that have gone and they've focused a lot on defending my read options, which opened up Jamar Gibbs on the inside handoffs. And then there's teams like today that don't focus in that at all, and I bust 100 and some odd yards rushing. It's an interesting dynamic for people that don't anticipate the quarterback being a lethal threat in the run game.
Tell me about the most dynamic part of this team as you roll into the playoffs for season 108.
Most dynamic part is just I have weapons at every disposal. I have a short yardage specialist in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I've got my deep ball guy in Jamison Williams. I've got Jamar Gibbs who can attack you in both the run and the pass game. And then if I need somebody to just cause havoc, I've got Reggie Conley, the 6'6" giant that just seems to catch everything.
What is sort of the biggest layer of concern and layer of excitement as you go into the playoffs?
My biggest layer of concern is my DB's hands. That's still a problem, as it has been last 2
That
seasons.
ruined you last season.
Yeah, it definitely did. It's come back to bite me in a few hands, but one of my defensive backs has learned to catch the ball, in Kirby Joseph. So I think he finally decided to be Kirby from the video game. And what excites me most is my linebacking core is playing phenomenally. I've been able to get pressure from Jack Campbell, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Bruce Ross, my rookie linebacker. And I'm also getting interceptions from Ross and Rodriguez, which has turned out to be a very fun aspect, especially now that I have a wider connection and can use my linebacker again.
Getting the number 1 seed was super important to you, so much so that you played your starters in this last game. Why is it such a big deal, even in Madden, to be able to play all those games at home?
In this case, it's not more so playing those games at home. It's more so avoiding the fact of playing both D-Money and D-Wayne.
What can teams expect coming into Detroit?
You're in for a long game. And don't expect to just be able to walk all over me, because I'm not expecting to get any walkover wins either.
Biggest lesson learned from season 107 Super Bowl that just came up barely short that you think will benefit your team coming into season 108?
There's a brick on the gas pedal now, and it ain't moving.
This one's a bit controversial. We'll see how this one goes. Do you feel like with the quarterback, with your offense, that sometimes you'll push those rules or lack of rules sort of to the limits to see what you can and can't get away with?
It's not that I'm pushing them to the breaks, but I definitely can see how a lot of people would get stressed out with, a running back having 15 carries and then a quarterback having 6 or 7 carries. I can definitely see how that would stress a lot of people out and annoy them.
Biggest difference between last year's team, this year's team that you think is going to be something other teams have to overcome playing you?
A lot more focused on spreading the ball around. I'm a lot more willing to move the ball around. I know a lot of the Reggie Conley got the ball, but that's just because I had that quarterback that had a lot of bad throws, and I know that Reggie Conley, even if I make a bad throw, can go get the ball for me.
All right, Coach. Every hot seat would like to wrap it up with a little word association. So just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind when we hear things like the Orlando Condors.
Young Guns rivalry.
Super Bowl 108.
Mine for the taking.
Biggest rival in the OMFL.
D-Wayne.
Team that you least want to see in the playoffs of season 108.
Seattle.
Scariest player to face on the opposing team.
CeeDee Lamb is probably one.
Offense or defense?
Defense.
Zone or man?
Man.
Man or blitz?
Blitz.
Position that you most enjoy playing on defense?
Middle linebacker.
And finally, the OMFL.
Greatest place to play.
Trey, you are officially off the OMFL hot seat. I would give you a little clap emoji here, a little sound effect. I don't have one, so we'll just play the Carol Baskin song.
Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked her.
You guys can't hear this, but I can, so
it
don't worry.
didn't happen. Then
hear it in my
the
head.
Tigers, they sacked her.
I gotta.
What's happening?
I got to
Carol
set it up to
Baskin.
where y'all can hear it. I don't know why I enjoy that song so much, but I absolutely do. All right, let's get into it. We have a brand new sponsor today. I cannot wait to let everyone know about this sponsor, but Maniac, I was able to get the opening segment sponsored. If you watch the Super Bowl, whether you're Christian or not, there are a lot of Jesus ads. I was able to get them to sponsor our first segment of the day. We're going to call it Eternity because it literally takes us 45 minutes to recap all of the games here in the OMFL. So let's jump right into it. Let's do some recap. Mr. Maniac, I'm going to turn it over to you for week number 16. Won't we recap week number 16?
All right, week number 16, folks. We had some good games. Had some pivotal games in this week as well. But looking at one that may have not counted a whole lot, but it was pretty entertaining to watch, and that was the New England Patriots versus the Bucks. We got two of the bottom dwellers, but man, did they put on a show. 27-21. New England gets the win here. Looking at the stats. New England had 345 yards gained on offense to the Bucks 283, 75 for the Bucks on the ground, 166 for those Patriots, 208 in the air, Bucks 179 for the Patriots in the air, 14 first downs for the Bucks, 16 for the Patriots, and then total yards gained 428 to 359 that in favor of the Pats. Turnovers. We did have 3 turnovers by the Buccaneers to only 1 for the Patriots. Third down conversions were tied up at 4, and the red zone touchdowns 2 apiece, but the Patriots did throw in 2. Time of possession was 22 to 17, 36 for the Patriots. Player stats. Mr. Rusty Starr was the star of the show here for the Patriots.
He played really well in the second half of the season, coming back from that injury.
He did, and I think if he would have been there for the full season, we might would have seen a little bit more fireworks from the Patriots. But 198 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have a pick, but was sacked twice. But he was very efficient with the ball in the air. 17 to 28, 60%. And then we all know about Steve Ryder, the big guy, the big gun. For the Buccaneers, he had a struggling day, though. 2 touchdowns with 3 interceptions, was sacked 5 times. He was only 11 to 24, 45%, so he was running for his life in this game. The rushing attack, talking about the leaders here, Antonio Gibson, the forgotten man from the Commanders, kicked out. Well, the Patriots picked him up, and he had 9 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns, so he was really trucking the ball down the field in this game. And then throw in Austin Eckler. He had 15 carries for 59 yards. The Bucks only had 61 yards carrying Sean Tucker and 16 by Rachaad White. Did throw in a touchdown for Tucker. Looking at receiving, Trey Palmer, the big play guy there for the Bucks, had 4 receptions, 108 yards. He did not get in the end zone. Tampa Bay looked like they were trying to get their rookie involved in this game. The 6'5", 227-pound Trey Hurd from USF had 3 catches for 83 yards and a touchdown. Looking for the Patriots, their leading receiver is Smith-Schuster here with 4 for 51. Thornton 4 for 45. Eckler 2 for 41. Jasicki did get 2 for 30 and a touchdown. Mike Evans, playing against his former team, did not really make an impact in this game, only 2 for 19. And then other than that, looking for the Bucks, Chris Godwin was held in check pretty much for the day. 3 catches, 38 yards, but he did have a touchdown. Looking at our defensive stats, Devin White was the leading tackler in this game with 9 for the Bucks. The leading tackler for the Pats was Jabril Peppers here with 5. Sack leader, 2 for Dre Mathers. He had 2 of those. And then for the Bucks, looked like they had Gutierrez there with 1. Some of the other guys throwing in a sack was Bentley, Allen, Crocker for the Patriots. Looking at interception leaders, Duggar, the strong safety for the Pats, had 2. The other strong safety, the backup here, the rookie Gibson for the Pats also had one, and then Antonio Winfield Jr. had one for the Bucks. But that's kind of the story here in this game. The quarterback duel, the rookie gets the upper hand over the vet here in the 99 overall guy in the OMFL. Steve Ryder had those 3 picks, so that was the difference in this game. But it looked like it was a very entertaining game.
I'm going to just say it. I love him. He's in chat right now. Hopefully he loves me afterwards. He's going full tank mode. I don't care what he says. But in this game and in my game that followed after this game, my guy did just enough to keep it close, but not enough to win that game. He went away from Godwin. He started going after rookies, which is fine. Like, there was nothing against it. It's not against the rules. But my guy went full in on the tank mode, and it showed up in these last couple of weeks here.
Well, he can go on tank mode again tonight if he wants to. So, you know.
Oh, no, not because I've said that. He's going to come after you and hang 65 on you. So be prepared.
Thanks a lot, Nate. Thanks a lot. No.
That game means something, so there's something there.
Yeah, he probably just wants to put an L on me, so that'll be interesting to see what happens. A big rivalry game here. I think if you look at it, could be a potential OMFL bowl matchup. The Detroit Lions was hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. This was a scoring affair. It looked like the defenses did not get off the plane or the bus. 601 yards gained for the Bengals to 529 for the Lions. 160 yards rushing for the Bengals. 247 rushing yards for the Lions. 441 yards passing for the Bengals to 282 for the Lions. First downs 20 to 22 for the Lions. I don't even know if there was any punts in this game. It looks like, yeah, there might have been one punt, but total yards gained combined for the Bengals 618 to 554. Turnovers, though, was the big deal in this game. 5 for the Bengals. That's uncharacteristic there for Mr. Denbrew. Third down conversion 7 to 4. That going to the Lions side there. Red zone percentages for both teams was pretty down. Actually, 33 for the Bengals, 42 for the Lions. But he did have 3 red zone touchdowns to only 1 by the Bengals. Penalty yards, 5 and 10. The Lions did have 10 yards, penalty yards there.
This is why I love Maniac. My guy just covered 5 and 10-yard penalties as part of the stats of this game. This is why this segment is called Eternity.
Time of possession 24 minutes for the Lions compared to the 15 for the Bengals. So looking at the stats, we're all talking about Mr. Grubbs for the Detroit Lions. Well, he had 4 touchdown passes in this game, 294 yards. He was sacked 3 times, 17 to 27 for a 62% completion rate. Joe Burrow was trying all he could to match that and get his team to the winning circle, but 441 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, but he did throw 3 picks, 21 of 33, 63%, but those 3 picks will be costly. And then your leading rushers for the game, Jamar Gibbs, 14 for 157, 1 touchdown. He was like 11 yards a pop per carry. And on the other side of the ball, he was just as effective. Mr. Spencer McGee, the all-world running back, brought over from last Madden, 12 carries, 140 yards, 11.7 yards a pop as well, 1 touchdown each for those guys. And then you throw in Mr. Grubbs, the quarterback, 4 carries, 56 yards, no touchdowns. And Jamison Wilson getting that end around, that 1 carry for 20 yards, and he had a touchdown off of that one. Looking at receiving, since we had all that passing, Jamar Chase, 9 catches, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. Yeah, I can't. Every once in a while, I'll get lucky and have one of those games like that. But not only that, on top of that, he had Dyson getting 8 catches for 137 yards and a touchdown. Jameson Williams, 5 catches, 100 yards. Conley, 2 for 91 for 2 touchdowns. So each catch went for a TD. Higgins, 2 for 58 and a touchdown. Salas 1 for 46. I mean, you can pretty much like their whole team had a catch, so somebody, man, they spread the ball
Look,
around. So
look at the longs real fast. 66, 55, 57, 76, 51, 46, 24. Holy cow, the big play day.
yeah, man, the DBs just went to sleep in this game or something. So everybody is like, you get a catch, you get a catch, you get a catch. So they were spreading the ball around, and everybody was getting yards. So, looking at tackle leaders here, Joseph 9 for the Detroit Lions. He also had an interception. Gardner with 8. Hill was the leading tackler for the Bengals with 7, 1 tackle for a loss. Sack leaders, Murphy, Lawson, both 1.5 sacks for the Bengals, and then your interception leaders was also, we called Joseph, Rodriguez, and then Branch for the Lions. But the big deal storyline in this game was the turnovers by Burrow. Those 4 interceptions definitely cost the Bengals there a chance to make that score that much closer. But man, where was the defense in this game? It was just non-existent. Scrolling down, we had a big pivotal game against. Let's see, I'm trying to cut this short since I'm talking long-winded, so I'm not talking about as many games. But we got the Orlando Condors versus the Bills. We got Bronco Man versus Big Hurt, and this game was a 31-28 game. It was pretty exciting. The closer it got down to the end of the game, it looked like it was going to be a cakewalk by the Condors, but the Bills put up 14 points in the fourth quarter. Yards gained, 347 to the Bills, 319 for the Condors, 88 rushing yards for the Condors, 74 for the Bills. Passing yards, 273 to 231. The Bills getting the nod on that one. First downs, even across the board, 20 each. Total yards gained, 398 for the Bills to 333 for the Condors. Both guys were getting it done on offense. Turnovers, though, definitely the stat that you don't want to lead, giving the ball over, and the Bills led that one. They gave it up 3 times compared to the Condors only once. Both guys converted 5 third down conversions. Red zone percentage, both guys were very efficient in the red zone. 75% for the Bills to 60% for the Condors. Both those guys were getting it done, but the time of possession was heavily in favor of the Condors, 25-15 to 14-45 compared to the Bills. Looking at player stats now, Anthony Richardson, the second-year man wonder here for the Condors. He was 241 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, was sacked once, but he's 18 of 20, 90% completion, man. He was not missing anything except one of those incompletions was an interception, which is crazy. Josh Allen was pretty effective, 298, 2 touchdowns, but he did have those 3 costly picks, was sacked 3 times, and he was actually under duress a lot in that game. Again, I watched that game, and so he was getting pressured quite a bit. Only giving up 3 sacks is kind of impressive. 21 of 32, 65%. Rushing, nothing really spectacular in this game, but Christian McCaffrey did have 2 touchdowns. Really wasn't used a whole lot. Looks like it was 8 carries for 58 yards. He was averaging 7.3 yards a carry, so I'm not really sure why he didn't stick with the run a little bit more. But Taylor for the Condors, 72 yards on 18 carries, 1 touchdown. And then those backups bringing in 21 for Orlando, and then 16 for the Bills. Looking at receiving yards, Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, looked like he and Diggs were both leading receivers for the Buffalo Bills, 6 each. 85 for Kincaid, 84 for Diggs. Kincaid did have the 2 touchdowns, though. Josh Downs, the guy that we have been talking about the last couple of weeks, having 15 and 20 catches and however many catches, he was just on fire. Like, he was just like nobody was covering him. Well, he had a little bit more down-to-earth game this game. 7 catches, 82 yards, 1 touchdown. Stanley did also have a pretty decent game for the Bills, 3 for 51. Likely, the tight end, The tight ends were getting all the love in this game for the touchdowns. Anyone in the red zone, 4 for 51, 2 touchdowns. Again, another game where a lot of the guys were getting catches on down the line for each team and spreading the ball around. But looking at the defense, we've got leading tackler Milano for the Bills, 8 with 1 for tackle for a loss. Heath Miller also had 8. Looking down, Orlando, Kenny Moore was their top tackler with 5. Several guys there were kind of tied with 5 tackles. McMillan for the Bills had a sack. Gallimore had a sack for the Condors. Also, Stewart and Wilkins also both had 1 sack apiece. Whitehead had an interception. Murphy Jr. had an interception for Orlando. Nick Cross and Leonard all had interceptions there for Orlando. But again, this game was tight down to the wire, especially in that second half in the fourth quarter. Big Hurt was a onside kick away from trying to get a tying score here, but that was a very entertaining game nonetheless. So, but those interceptions did cost him. And that's it for my wrap up. So maybe I got a little quicker. I don't know. I didn't talk about as many games.
There was another really good game, and that was the Steelers and Browns. And I think that just coming off of last week, we said those games were going to be really pivotal, and Pittsburgh was able to come out with a victory. I was pulling for the Browns because I'm always pulling for some fresh new blood, but you got to give it to Cincyberg and what he's been able to do there in Pittsburgh. Taking a quick look at week number 17. Cleveland's kind of playoff hopes has taken a dump here in the last couple of weeks. He falls 21-35 against Buffalo. That was another really pivotal game for him to be able to try to come through. Your Atlanta Falcons with a big victory over the Miami Dolphins, 31-17. That's going to really hurt as the Dolphins are trying to push. I need to look at the updated stats, but he's sort of had a few speed bumps here towards the end of the season as he tries to find a way to roll into the playoffs with some momentum. There's not a lot of close games here in week number 17. We're entering that time where guys like me who know their season's over is going to start giving some of those young players, potential starters next year, some starts, and we're starting to see that show itself in some of these scores. Not a ton to talk about. Cincinnati falls to Pittsburgh 28-30 in this one. It was the big second quarter there for Pittsburgh, putting up 17. Cincinnati makes a nice little run there at the end, putting up 14, but 2 back-to-back losses. That defense just giving up tons of points as Cincinnati tries to figure it out for the playoffs. That's going to be pivotal. It's going to be key in this one. And Joey B turning the ball over, as we see he had 3 interceptions again today. Desmond Ridder, though, your Atlanta Falcons, coming over here for 181 with 2 touchdowns, only 50% completion percentage, but still that Cincinnati offense can put up a lot of points, but it took them a while to kind of get going here. Chase with another big day, 6 for 154 and 2, but it really has to go to Pittsburgh defense playing really great, getting their hands on the ball, picking off Joey B 3 different times. I'm seeing 2 different sacks here, so getting some pressure on here. Hayden, Edwards, and Hilton all with an interception. So a big victory there for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have, I think he's still sort of in the running for seeding, but has really kind of taken a hold of some of these last playoff positions as we start to roll into the playoffs here. No other really good games to talk about. The San Diego Chargers, I think this might have been a CPU game. I'm not 100% sure. But he avoids what could have been a pretty big meltdown with a 24-23 victory over the New York Giants. And that's a look at week number 17. Let's cover the last one. Either what are we looking for or some big games that have happened.
Can I dig in on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I get on? All right, I'll just do the matchups that all had some playoff implications. We've had some that have been played and some that are in the matchups. One, the first game on the schedule, Lions Mounties. Obviously, as talked about, I've sealed off the first seed with the win. That's over and done with. The Dolphins played the Patriots in a 34-31 victory. That solidifies the Dolphins as a playoff wildcard.
Would you consider
And
that,
then
though,
we have-
backing into the playoffs? Because he had a little rough go here at the end.
That's you got a flat tire and you somehow cross the finish line. The Arizona Cardinals defeated the Carolina Panthers, confirming a wild card playoff matchup between these two teams. And the Commanders fall to the Seattle Seahawks, a 31-27, which is a clinching spot for the Seahawks as at least the 3 seed, and putting the Commanders in a very hot pan.
That was a really good game,
terms of
too. I know Bill posted it. I didn't get to watch because most of us were watching the Super Bowl, but that ended up being a very close game. And you got to give it to Bill, taking over a team not built for him, but sort of figuring it out here at the end.
And yeah, definitely, Bill switched teams, obviously, and he finally found the footing. Just fell a little bit short here.
I couldn't figure out though why he's starting Jordan Love over Sam Howell. That
He
was
and
the
I
only thing I
talked
was
about
watching.
that. He said he just has played better, and he was asking me if I found that playing a younger quarterback plays better because I've won 2 games now with my backup. And I as I was telling him, I don't know. I think it's sometimes for some of us, it's just like a mental reset. Like you just mentally get a reset, and even though the other player's better stats, better everything, it's just like I just need a reset. And so he is playing really well for having Jordan Love in there, but he's sort of holding on to that last spot, and your team and your game tonight is going to go a long way. I don't know exactly when you guys are playing, but it's where's it at? Right here, Falcons, Buccaneers.
Go ahead and tank, Kevin.
Yeah, that's going to be a big game that's going to determine which of these 2 teams get in. And if we're talking about the Dolphins backing in, now it's tough to say he's an 11-win team. This is also tough to say about a 12-win team. The Panthers, that's a big whiff here in week number 18. I don't know. Again, everyone approaches these games differently. I didn't look at this. Let's pull it up real quick and see. I don't know if he rested a bunch of players. Was just like, not yet. He did. Okay, so Bryce Young sat. So you can kind of see. He's like, all right, I feel good about where I am no matter sort of how this plays out. Let me sit some guys. But still, I feel like even if it's mentally, you sort of lose some momentum as you get rolling into the playoffs. I don't know, man. It's a tough call because you don't want to get injuries. Trey, you talked about it. You had a few injuries, somehow survived them, no long-term injuries. So you take that chance, but also he's lost a couple here towards the end, and that can start to get into your head and creep in some doubt.
Definitely. And now with the remaining schedule of games to watch out for, that have implications. We have Saints versus Bills. Bills need the win plus some losses in order to make it into the playoffs. Buccaneers Falcons. If Falcons win, Falcons walk themselves into the 7th seed. The Chargers and Bengals has implications for both. A Steelers loss and a Bengals win would then jump the Cincinnati Bengals back into the NFC North or AFC North division lead. Chargers win and a Jets and Condors loss. The Chargers move up to the number 1 seed in the AFC.
That's crazy.
Jets Browns obviously has implications for both teams. Browns need a win and some losses around the league. Jets with a win and Condors and Chargers loss puts the Jets in the number 1 seed. Condors versus Texans. Condors win. Condors prove that OMFL Bowl 7 was the ultimate OMFL Bowl, as it would seal that both the teams are the number 1 seeds in each conference. Raiders with a win over the Chiefs will solidify themselves in a playoff spot. The Cowboys, we're speculating here, but a Cowboys loss could fall them to the 3rd seed. A win solidifies them in the 2nd seed. And then the biggest matchup of them all is Steelers-Ravens. If Steelers win, Steelers are the AFC North champion.
He's doing it against Mr. Poopy Pants, who says he's left a pile of underwear in a Vegas hotel somewhere. So hopefully he's all cleaned up and he doesn't get any of that on his controller, because that's going to be a really big game. I still have questions, though, about the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback situation, but it's going to be a fun playoffs, no matter how we sort of shake it up one way or the other. Maniac, any other games that you think might be really good games, or maybe even guys that are going to do like the Carolina Panthers, putting in backups?
Hey, I kind of wonder about the Jets. I don't know if he goes all out, if it's going to really change his seeding as much. So, I wonder if he's going to really go on out against the Browns, or if he's going to kind of sit some guys. I know he has some issues with his quarterback. He on his stream a lot. He's always trying to talk him off the ledge, because he's like, "Why are you throwing that ball that crazy?" But I don't know if he's going to set some guys, trying to keep from getting injury. And just to talk about a little bit about the Panthers, he did say he set his guys, but the only one he didn't set in this game was his rookie middle linebacker, and he got lost for the playoffs as well.
Oh, I remember seeing him say that.
Yeah, so that's a tough blow, because I will say, playing him twice, that rookie linebacker was a menace on the run game, especially because he would get off of blocks tremendously fast. So that could be something to watch in the playoffs, because a lot of these teams going into the playoffs, you got the Cowboys, you got the Lions, they're all these running attack teams that could play pivotal for the Panthers trying to make their case to get into the OMFL Bowl.
Trey, before we get over to doing some predictions, which will probably take 16 hours, and the playoffs will be over by the time we actually give our predictions, because, man, predictions take a long time. Give me a little bit more. You and I were talking offline. Give me a bit more about your mindset about why you decided, I'm going all in, injuries, or not. I need to get that number one seed.
This is more fitting into the NFC side of things, but the more you can keep yourself away from having to try and run through both D Money and D Wayne, you're favoring yourself in the NFC side of things. Obviously, Papa Money over here, we're gonna have that time to go play those playoff games, but having to match up against both of them, and you, Nate, you've experienced it in your run to the OMFL Bowl. It's stressful, and it takes a lot of. So by the time you've beaten your way through them, if you manage to, you're already worn out and mentally. So if you're able to make the turnaround and keep that mental stability around you to go up against whoever makes it outside the AFC, it's very challenging. The less you have to deal with those guys and the constant pressure of, I can't make a mistake in this game, the better.
Are you a conspiracy theorist believer, as I think my guy Maniac may be, that even with momentum off, it is still actually working in the background, and that tends to help you being at home?
Not a chance, because I've seen both hands of where I've been on the road, momentum was against me, and I marched right back and won the game. And I've been in home situations where I thought the game was sealed and all that, and then here comes next thing you know, and I lose.
You heard it right there from our fellow Canadian. 9/11 was an inside job. Okay, let's get over to the OMFL news with Mr. Denbrew.
Welcome back to the OMFL news. This is season 108. We are in week 17. I am Denbrew, and we are ready to get into the playoffs. Super tight race in the playoffs in both conferences. Looks like you're going to need about 10 wins at least to get into the OMFL playoffs. Taking a look at who's got a shot at the one seed still over in the AFC, it looks like the Chargers, Condors, and Jets are still in the hunt. And over in the NFC, it looks like the Lions, Cowboys, Seahawks all have a shot. I'm sure there's some tiebreakers in there, but I will leave that to the much smarter folks in the league to sort out.
Me too, Denbrew.
That is not something my brain will do. But I will take a look at some possible Rookie of the Year candidates. Checking out on the offensive side of the ball, you got to love what QB Cale Grubbs has done for the Lions. Over 4,000 yards passing, over 700 yards on the ground. He's got a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. You can't beat that. Then on the flip side, you got Marco Feldman, and He has a 2-to-1 interception to touchdown ratio. Anyway, several running backs had good seasons also, but one is having a great season, man. DeMario Clayton for the Steelers, number 1 amongst rookies and number 2 overall in the OMFL. He's over 1,600 yards rushing, having a great year. At wide receiver, I think you got to look at Eli Barkley. He deserves some consideration. Looks like he has a shot at 2,000 yards receiving, having a killer year. And I believe this was the guy that there was some draft talk around because he had so much speed, but I think his catching coming out of the draft was not great. But he's proven to be a big-time weapon for the Cleveland Browns. So that takes care of a look at the offense. I didn't see really much else to cover with the offensive rookies. I'm going to kick it back to Nate and Maniac, and in segment 2, we'll look at some defensive Rookie of the Year hopefuls. See you.
Thank you, Mr. Denbrew. Appreciate you, buddy. All right, let's get into our prediction show. Now, fellas, there's 3 of us today, so let's try not to take 16 hours to get through this. I want to start in the AFC, where I think the picture's a little bit more up in the air than the NFC, which is a bit more clear with less teams sort of in the running. Now, I'm going to use Beal's numbers, and we'll look at what we have here on the screen right now. Bill says it is Condors, the number 1, Chargers 2, Jets 3, Steelers 4, Dolphins, Bengals, Raiders 5, 6, 7, Bills and Browns still in it at 9 and 7. They're both going to need a lot of help to get in there, according to Madden right now. You've got Condors number 1, Chargers 2, Jets 3, Steelers 4. So all of that is matching what Bill has. And then it has the Bengals at 5. Dolphins at 5. Madden has Bengals, Dolphins flip. So Dolphins at 5, Bengals at 6. I'm getting it flip-flop. It's supposed to be Dolphins at 5. Madden has Bengals at 5, Dolphins at 6. And then the number 7 team is the Raiders, which is exactly what Bill has. So, fellas, I pitched it to you.
That's what Bill adding in the Dolphins already winning.
That's right. So we got that one today. So what do we think? Do Bills Browns get in at all? Do these seedings change at all? And then sort of let's break down round number 1 matchups. I'm going to toss it over to Mr. Maniac to get us started.
This one's going to be pretty tough. I mean, I think the Bills are going to squeak in, and they're probably going to take that one of the last spots there from the Raiders. That's my prediction. I don't know exactly how Madden will work out, but that's what I'm looking at. So my list would be San Diego actually is the number 1 seed. Somehow they get the number 1 seed there. Things fall for them. The Condors would be number 2, Jets number 3, Steelers 4, Bengals 5, Dolphins 6, and then instead of the Raiders, you'd put the Bills there. I think each one of those matchups that would be pretty interesting to see. 1, 2 would be facing the Condors would be facing the Bills, which they just played here a couple weeks ago, I think, or it might have been the last advance. But anyway, so that'd be a very good matchup. And then you have the Jets versus the Dolphins again for the 3rd time of the season, and then you would have the Steelers versus the Bengals again for a 3rd time this season. I think that would be some really cool matchups there for the AFC side. And so you'd have San Diego sitting out that first round. Looking at the Condors versus the Raiders, not the Raiders, but the Bills, because we're replacing the Raiders. The Condors versus the Bills, I think the Condors would get the win there, advancing to the next round of the playoffs. Then you have the Jets, who I think just match the matchup. They match up well against the Dolphins. Their scheme, I think, matches well against the Dolphins, and I think they come out victorious there, moving on to the next round. And then you got the Steelers versus the Bengals. This one could go either way. I mean, this is a kind of a toss-up. It's just whoever gets the upper hand first. But I'm going to call this here. I've I've given props to Denbrew, and he's let me down. So, Denbrew, I'm going to X you out the first round, and the Steelers are going to advance to that second round of the playoffs. So then that would put your matchups Chargers versus Steelers, because they would be the 4th seed, and then the Condors versus the Jets, 2nd and 3rd seeds there. So that would be some pretty interesting matchups going into who would be represented in the AFC Championship game. Give me the Condors over the Chargers.
Hold on to those. Let's all do our first round first. So you remember your divisional round matchups. Trey, who's in, who's out? What's your first round look like?
I think we'll see the Raiders move up to the 5th seed, and I think otherwise I think it stays the same.
Well, tell me how that wild card plays out for you.
I see the Chargers pulling double duty and beating the Bengals back-to-back weeks. I see the Jets upsetting the Raiders, and I see the Steelers beating the Dolphins.
And what would be the divisional matchups in that scenario? Because my old brain cannot figure that out on the fly.
It would be Condor, Steelers, Jets, Chargers.
That would be some good matchups. Listen, after listening to two men give their scenarios that are cockeyed from what we see on the screen, this old brain's just got to go with I see on the screen. I'm just going to say this plays out exactly what we see here on our screen. And there is a piece of me, I'm not going to lie, that wants to lose this Bills game tonight with everything that's in me. And it's probably going to happen. But now I sort of really want to beat the Bills just because I hate the assumption that the Bills are going to beat me no matter what. And just to ruin someone's playoff hopes would just make me feel a little bit better going into the offseason. So we'll see what actually happens with me. The Raiders... There's a couple teams that I feel like I've not given enough credit to this season. Condors, Chargers, Jets, Raiders. I just feel like I have not spoke about them enough. And all of these teams have played really, really well. These are double-digit winning teams. And I think you just really got to give it to what our guy Byron has done moving over to the San Diego Chargers. He's just played so exceptionally well, and I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. And so I think he would come out of this one with a victory. It would not be easy. It would be a tough victory, but I do think that they can win that game against the Raiders. Jets are rolling. He has figured some things out. Now, he does have a weird situation with the quarterback. 1 second he's blaming me and the slider settings, next second he's blaming the quarterback, and the next second he's like, oh, what a great throw. I'm just like, hey man, figure it out, pick a side here. But I do think Massimo's had just a lot of up and down, but we've seen Massimo quietly get in the playoffs and then out of nowhere hang 60 on somebody and win a first round matchup. I don't know how to go with this one. I'm going to pick the Jets to go ahead and to win that one. And then Steelers, Bengals. I don't know what's up with the Bengals defense. I am a big believer in Denver and the Bengals, but every season, don't. And also don't start singing. Anyway, I think that the further we get from those back-to-back-to-back championship games, the less credit we got to stop. Just give he's pulled some withdrawals from that credit that we give him, and now he's got something to prove. And I feel like Cincy definitely wants to prove. I think Cincy's always looking to prove himself, a big thumbs up. I don't think it's a thumbs up. I think it's a couple fingers away from the thumb to the league, and I think he's going to want to do that again here. And I just got to go with what I've seen. I like the Pittsburgh Steelers in this one. So I'm picking all of the home teams, 2, 3, and 4. That would give Steelers, Condors for me, and then Chargers, Jets. Yes. Sign me up for those matchups. Trey, I'm coming back to you, then over to Maniac. Give me your divisional matchups.
I'll have the Condors versus the Steelers. I think the Condors are just going to find that way to grit out and cause enough havoc for Cincy's hot run to end. And then Jets Chargers, I think Byron's looking to make a point. He was clogged up inside the NFC, just like once upon a time our good friend Kobe was, and I think he's going to upset Kobe's struggling Jets roster.
So that gives you an AFC championship of Condors Chargers. That's going to be a fun game.
Definitely.
That would be you next, Maniac.
Oh, is it me? I'm sorry. I thought there was somebody else. So my prediction here, the Chargers would be the number 1 seed, the Condors 2. Those two guys would be matched up against. And then you'd have, Steelers. That's right. The Chargers and the Steelers. I'm scribbling down as we're talking, so I can't read my own writing because I write like a doctor and I can't read it after I scribble. But that's the Chargers versus the Steelers, and give me the Chargers to upset the Steelers here, and then that would bring the Condors and Jets versus each other for that next round. And I think these two guys match up really well, but I just think the Condors and what we've seen him put up on the offense, and then we've seen what the Jets have struggled with, I just think that's too much, and the Condors move on to the next round. That brings to you the AFC Championship game, Chargers versus Condors.
That could be a fun one, just as we talked about with Mr. Trey. I've got the top home seeds winning these games, so the matchup is Condors versus Steelers. The game of, I think, mid-level quarterback play, more about the running game, more about the defense on both of those. I think that would be such a fun matchup because who is going to get the turnovers? Because I think both of these teams are built off of what they can do with the turnovers. I don't know what to expect because neither one of these quarterbacks I love, but they both add other elements to the game and can kind of shine. Both have really good running backs. I'm going to take the Condors just from the sense of he's earned the number 1 seed. In my opinion, he is the returning champion. I still think since he's 1 or 2 pieces away from being as dominant as we've seen him be. And then I would have Chargers Jets. Yes. Sign me up for that one. I'm going to just put my money where I think my heart is, and that is with the Chargers and Byron. I'm just pulling for him. An amazing guy. He's won a lot of games here in the AFC. It finally is clicking for him, but he's going to have to prove himself on the big stage. And we've seen the Jets not have the season that he thought he was going to have last year. He gets in there with a buzzsaw of Bill and the Bills and wins that game. And it's just like, he can win games that you just don't know that he's supposed to, but somehow, some way, he just makes enough plays. Byron's going to have to prove himself, but I have the same matchup as you guys. I've got Condors versus Chargers and the AFC Championship. Maniac, pick it away. Who's representing the OMFL and OMFL Bowl 108 from the AFC?
All right, so interesting fact, these guys played each other in week 12, and the Condors were at the Chargers, and this would be again a matchup that would be in San Diego. I was going to say LA, but it's San Diego Chargers, and the Condors actually came out with a 42-24 victory in that game. But I think I'm going to call the complete upset. I know the Condors are very good, but I'm going to say the Chargers are going to get his first ticket to the OMFL Bowl representing the AFC squad.
I'm sticking with the obvious, and I'm thinking he's going for a repeat. I think Condors take the win over the Chargers.
Short and sweet. I think none of this is going to play out this way, and it's probably going to be like Dolphins Steelers with the Dolphins going to a bowl game. It's just the way it goes. And I also absolutely hate picking the favorite because the favorite rarely ever gets there. There's always this team that no one counted in, and they make a run, they go all the way, and we've seen the Lions. I don't think we gave the Lions enough credit last season. He was one play away from winning the bowl last year, and that's probably how this is going to play out. We're rarely ever spot on and right. I think it's going to be a really fun game. I would have to take the Condors. I just think that they have learned a lot, but Byron has been out of the playoffs for a bit. And so you got to sort of build that memory muscle. And in the playoffs, one play, one call is so pivotal. And I think the Condors just deserve getting the credit of knowing how to make those calls. That defense is going to be swarming. They're going to be trying to make plays. And I think the Condors are going to represent the AFC and OMFL Bowl number 108. Now, let's go on to the other side. We'll cover the NFC before going to the mailbag. And in between those two, we'll have OMFL News number 2. And what are we? Oh, we're already an hour deep. Let's see how we did pretty good, though, in the AFC. I got to give us credit. All right, currently, the way that this is showing in Madden, you got the Lions, number 1 seed. That's locked up. That's sewed up. That's a done deal. Dallas Cowboys. Well, I mean, I ain't sure, but I'm trusting the trade sure. You got the Dallas Cowboys.
15-2 in the win over Cowboys. I'm good.
You got the Cowboys, the number 2 seed, Seahawks, number 3 seed, Panthers 4, Cardinals 5, San Francisco 6, Commanders 7. I do think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to get into that spot. I'm going to put the Atlanta Falcons in at number 7, though. I do think I may have ruined that for you when I said that our boy was tanking. He's probably going to smash you tonight just to prove a point. So that's the only change I'm going to make. I'm going to give it to Trey. I want to hear how your wild card matches up. Do you think the Falcons get in or they don't? And then what are your winners in the wild card before we give it over to Maniac?
The Falcon is going to fly over the pirate ship, only get roped by the cowboy horse. I think the Cowboys.
Congratulations.
You avoided the cannonball and got. I think Wayne's gonna. Walk away and over the Falcons. Seahawks, Niners. It will be the. It comes down to if Papa Money can make time. If Papa Money can make time, it'll be an interesting game. Obviously, if he doesn't, if the Seahawks lose. I might have to give Meek a good talking to. And then Panthers and Cardinals, we saw what happened when the Cardinals went up against a potentially backup roster. I looked for the Panthers and Bird to try and show that was the backups win. But I think ultimately Aaron Donald's going to be the X factor in that game, and I think Cardinals will upset the Panthers.
Well, I'm kind of hoping it plays out like that, but Kev has been a very tough opponent for me. So, all this Madden, so it's gonna be interesting. But I will throw my name in there. It's probably the wrong thing to do because I'm gonna get smashed, like Nate said. So, but I think I squeak in by the chinny chin hair of my chin very, very slimly. And like I said, I get to face off against the buzzsaw that is the Cowboys. The 49ers, I mean, the 6 seed, they've been a CPU team. I hate to say it, but I think they're back up. I played the CPU like 2 weeks ago, and their backup quarterback, like a nobody, was like phenomenal in that game. I could barely stop him. He was just like on fire. Like you could not get him off the field. And I don't know. I think it looks like the CPU 49ers is actually going to make a case to get into the playoffs for D-Money, which is just absolutely wild. And then you got the 5th seed, the Cards, coming in. And so that would put your matchups, the Panthers at number 4, Seahawks at number 3, and then the Cowboys at number 2. I really have nothing changing, just the simple fact that I'm going to squeak in there at the 7th. So, man, that's going to be some good matchups. I especially see this Cardinals Panthers matchup. I think is going to be one of the premier games in the whole playoffs. I think both these guys are lights out on offense, and then you got two guys that play totally different on defense. I know I'm kind of elaborating a little bit more because I actually know these teams a little bit more than I do the AFC because we play in the NFC side here. So, but this game is going to be really good, but I think the Panthers have shown that he can win, and not only in this league and the Deuce, he's won a championship over there. He's played most of these guys that are in this playoff over there, except for a couple. There's a couple of different players, but give me the Panthers to move on to the next round there, and then the 49ers versus Seahawks. If he is playing the CPU, or if D-Money all of a sudden decide, hey, I'm going to play the playoffs, but give me the Seahawks, though. I think Meek Boy he's just been playing at another level here as of late. He seems like he's racking up points, and his defense is playing pretty solid. And of course, I get the matchup between the Dakota Nightmare and the Cowboys, and we'll just fork that one over. Cowboys advance to the next round.
No hope, huh?
No hope. I just hope I can make it interesting. That's my only hope.
I think you can. The NFC, man.
What the dog doing?
They got some dogs over here, and
Yes,
when I
sir.
look at this Murders Row, it's pretty tough. I don't think I've given the AFC enough credit. I've already kind of slapped my wrist, Denbrew, about it. I feel like I've done a good job of giving the top teams enough love. I haven't given some of those other teams enough love, but man, the NFC from top to bottom is just full of dogs. Now, I would say I do personally believe the top of the NFC is better than the top of the AFC, but I do think the bottom of the AFC is better than the bottom of the NFC. Give me Atlanta Falcons versus Dallas. I love you, Maniac, but there's just absolutely no way. Dallas is Dallas, and your Falcons are still figuring it out, and you have figured it out, and you found some success, but going on the road against Dallas just feels like, oh, that's a tough ask. Here's the game that I think is just going to be.
That's all I hear in my head.
Yeah, the game though, Seahawks and 49ers. This is going to be a good one. I think we are way underrating D-Money. I know he's had a baby, but he ain't forgot how to play this game. And the Seahawks literally made me want to quit. Like, I literally wanted to close the server, shut the league down, and never play Madden again after playing the Seahawks. He kind of, he didn't kind of, he ran up the score on me, so that really pissed me off. We've had that conversation. Not something I'm looking for from an owner in this league, especially when you're playing in an OMFL game. Like, do what you want outside the OMFL, but in the OMFL, let's show some sportsmanship, and that was not sportsmanship. Like, these two teams have played each other, know each other. They're heavyweights. They're going to go in a boxing match, but I think D-Money is D-Money. We're way underrating him. I hope that the Seahawks and me can prove me wrong. I hope he slays the dragon. It just makes the playoffs that much more fun, but I think San Francisco is going to win that one. Panthers, Cardinals.
My question: who's underrating D-Money?
Well, I just think he's a 6 seed, right? And he's got the baby. And does he play? Does he not play? I think there's just like some D-Money's D-Money. We all know that.
It's depending on if he plays or not. We know D-Money.
I think he's going to play this one.
Trey Lance is injured, though, I think, for the rest of the season.
Is he injured? Oh, now that I didn't know. Now that would be new information for me, because the Seahawks quarterback is one of the more underrated quarterbacks. And the last time I checked, he was at 40 touchdowns, 7 or so. Like, dude's playing MVP style football. Probably should win the MVP. Yes, Trey, I know you got a quarterback breaking all kinds of records this year, but give him rookie of the year. He's going to be a great player. But man, Meek's quarterback is playing stupid football right now. Panthers, Cardinals. I think I've seen Bird go on runs here. I think Joker, a little up and down season, but you got to go on the road. You got to play in Carolina. I like the quarterback. I like the decision making. That cover 2 for the Carolina Panthers with those 2 cornerbacks that he has just feels like, oh my God, is there anything? Well, I'm going to have to run the ball 75 times this game to get through it. I think Bird's going to win that one. So I've got Carolina. I got the 49ers. I got the Dallas Cowboys. That would set up a divisional matchup between Dallas and San Francisco, and then Carolina. Oh, no, I had that backwards. I'm sorry. Oh, no, that would set up Lions, San Francisco, Dallas, Carolina. Sign me up for that. I want to be there front row. Give me my popcorn. I'm going to be watching that one. Let's talk about our divisional matchups now. Maniac, I'm going to start with you, then I'm going to give it to Trey. Give us your matchup. Give us your winner. Who's in the NFC Championship game?
Okay, so obviously we got the Lions in the number 1 spot, and then my prediction, the lowest seed would be the Panthers advancing to that next round. So the Lions and Panthers would actually be the matchup. And then the other matchup would be the Cowboys versus the Seahawks, which would be a really an intriguing game to watch there, I think, as well. Both those guys play exceptional well. I think you have to give the nod. I think with some of the scores that I've seen the Seahawks have this season, their defense has kind of been off and on. I think the Cowboys defense has been a little bit more consistent. And so I would give the nod there to the Cowboys advancing on to the NFC Championship game. And then you have the Lions, Mr. Trey versus the Panthers and Mr. Birdie. But this game, I think, will be really a nice game to watch. I think it's going to be one that would probably be one to go down into the OMFL halls of fame, the games to watch for all OMFL lure. But I just think the Lions, with their offensive proness that they've shown, the points they're putting up, the dynamic of this quarterback that he's got, both these guys do actually have mobile quarterbacks, and they will both take off and run, especially with the Panthers and playing him twice a season. You get him in 3rd and long, and he's pulling the ball down. He's running for a first down, and it's he's just got a really good offense. But I just think the Lions, they're out to prove that he's going to try to make his way back to the OMFL Bowl and redemption. This is the redemption tour, so the Lions are going to advance to that next round and be facing off against the Cowboys in that NFC Championship game.
I already have it: Cowboys, Seahawks, and Cardinals, Lions. I think Meek's going to pull the upset. I think Wayne's been bitter about his loss to me and to Kevin. I think he's been on a rampage, but I think just the one key factor that you look at Kevin and mine's roster is the speed receiver, and I think DK Metcalf will be having a takeover game and cause enough trouble inside the secondary of the Cowboys that he'll sneak out of the win just like last season. And then for me versus the Cardinals, I think I have one of the better offensive lines to try and deal with this Aaron Donald and crew, and also with the versatility of my offense. I feel like I can pick apart whatever weakness that the Cardinals have. However, he's got a rookie, or I guess their second years now, rookie quarterback and receiver that is a deadly tandem. I got to do my best to try and lock that up as best I possibly can. I think that'll be a close matchup, but I see it being Seahawks versus Lions.
I think... Oh, press something. It didn't work. I think sign me up for my divisional round games. I want it. Let me see it. I want to be at both of these games. Fly me where you got to fly me. I want a front row ticket, maybe a suite. They have good food up there. Carolina Panthers, Dallas Cowboys. That is just going to be a fun matchup between those two teams. I think two teams that attack each other, very similar, play really good defense, both exceptional, top tier play callers. I think Dallas would come out with a victory in that one. It would be a close game, and I would only give them the edge because they're playing at home. And I also like the special teams element and what Dwayne has in that special teams element. He can take the shot deep. It's going to be a really, really good game. Sign me up to watch that one. I have Dallas moving on to the NFC Championship game. And then you got the Detroit Lions versus the San Francisco 49ers. And I just think Detroit is too loaded. He's playing too good of football right now. Trey is at the top of his game. And I think that the king falls once again as Detroit comes out victorious once again and moves on to the NFC Championship to face Dwayne at home in Detroit against the Dallas Cowboys for the NFC Championship. And I'm going to keep it right there. Dallas versus Detroit. Cowboys, Lions, Dwayne, Trey, two guys that have been there before. If I've said it about Denver, we also have to take a look at Dwayne. He's gotten like right at the dance, right at the door. He's knocking on it. He's asking to come in. Just hasn't been able to quite come over those few small last moment speed bumps. And he's going to be up against a buzzsaw with two quarterbacks in this game that can throw it, that can run it. I think it will be key. Do both quarterbacks not turn it over fumble-wise? We may see an interception or two. Dwayne has been known to try to push it. You know, his quarterback's not the best thrower in the world. He'll try to fit one in there that ends up, beginning to like come back and haunt him, turning it over. But running the ball, can both of these quarterbacks keep themselves from turning it over? And then both play great special teams. Both are good play callers, different style of play callers. I'm going to have to go Detroit in that one, though. I think that's going to be a fun game. Would not shock me one way or the other. I'm still waiting any moment for Dwayne just to take over and say, this one's mine. I'm taking this one. I'm missing being back in the bowl. It's been too long. I'm going to a bowl game. I'm going to do what it takes. But I just think that the team that you have built, Trey, is just a pain to deal with. And I think we're going to get a rematch of OMFL Bowl 107 here in 108 as Detroit moves on to represent the NFC. Mr. Trey, give me your NFC Championship prediction.
I've got Meek and the Seahawks versus my Lions. That's going to be a showmanship. The gunslinger versus scrambler. If I've ever needed a very good kale salad, it'd be definitely a game. I think I can pull it off. I think I have enough firepower that I can outmatch Tariq Woolen and crew, and I think I sneak out by a field goal when putting me against my good old friend on the other side in Bronco Man and the Condors.
So is it my turn?
Yeah, that's how this works.
Well, let's see. So we got the Lions versus the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game. Couldn't write a bigger headline with some bigger personalities in the OMFL. This game definitely one. We gotta call this one. This one is what happened. So
We don't need to repeat the last year.
that was an insane last minute and a half of that game. It was like 4 scores scored within that time. But yeah, I think this game both these guys are tops in the OMFL and the offensive category, especially as Trey just mentioned last championship game, the defenses didn't kind of show up in the final moments of the game. It just went all haywire. But looking at this, I think I have to side with Nate. I think Dwayne is kind of got that itch, wants to get back. He's just gonna look at trying to make a point. And we've said this a lot of times, even with Denver, we're kind of stacking this up with Dwayne from what he's done in the past. Is he going to be able to kind of get rid of that the monkey that he's kind of handled his back here as of late in these big games late in the season and stuff? And I think It's going to happen, and I'm not going to call it. Trey, nothing against you, but I think the Cowboys are going to come out on top, and but it's going to be one heck of a game. I can tell you that for sure. It's going to be one to remember for a long time.
Well, there you
And
have
all I
it.
have to say to that is last year you said the same thing.
Yeah,
One of these days it's going to come true.
Well, let's give our quick predictions. Who wins OMFL Bowl number 108? There's no way Trey's going to pick against himself, but let's start with Trey.
I have a lot of light up vengeance that I need to unleash, and there's only one person I've been looking into, and the entire playbook is getting used that game. I'm going to find a way to get my revenge and win that OMFL Bowl.
Mr. Maniac, who wins it?
All right, so this pits a team we haven't seen before. We got the Chargers and representing the AFC side versus the Cowboys. Again, these guys are buddies in real life, so again,
That would be
just
a really
the
fun
side
game.
the side fact that would be kind of cool to have that as well. But both these guys are really good on the offensive side of the ball. They can struggle at times on the defensive side, but I've seen games where these two played against each other and they've played really close because I think they kind of know each other and they have each other kind of what the other one likes to do. So I see this game actually being a really close game with the Chargers making it a valiant effort. I think we see this game being the Chargers 24 and the Cowboys 31.
There's no way I'm brave enough to give actual score qualifications for this, but I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions. I think he was right there at the end. He had an opportunity. Mr. Droopy Draws is in the chat. Good to see you, Maggie. I hope that Vegas treated you well. It sounds like it treated you better than you treated your underwear, so I'm glad that you're back and safe. But I like Detroit Lions. A lot of firepower. He's going to make me make a whole bunch of new rules about quarterbacks now, and I'm going to go nuts this offseason. But I just think that there's too much there. There's a lot of confidence there. It is not going to be easy, and I know I'm going to get hate from this from my good buddy Denbrew and maybe a little Koch and a couple of my AFC friends over there. But if you survive the NFC, man, you're ready to rock and roll. Unless your name's Nate and you play Denbrew, you're pretty ready to rock and roll by the time you get into the playoffs. But Bronco Man showed us all how that could go, pulling out a big win last year. So there's our predictions. I also fully predict that none of what we said today is actually going to happen, and it's going to be completely different. That's just the way the playoffs go. These prediction shows go that way. All right, we're going to go see Mr. Denbrew for one last OMFL news, and then we're going to open up the mailbag and land this ship. Denbrew, take it away.
All right, we're back. Segment 2. Going to take a look at some Defensive Rookie of the Year hopefuls. And then before I get out of here for the day, we'll look at some boos and some brews. Clyde Rhodes, defensive end, Falcons, I think deserves some consideration. Guy has got 9 sacks on the season. No slouch there. Calvin Graham, a strong safety with the Jets. 9 interceptions on the season. And then I think I'm reaching a little bit with this one, but Bruce Ross of the Detroit Lions, 44 solo tackles, 2 sacks, and 3 interceptions. Probably deserves some consideration also. So that'll take care of my Defensive Rookie of the Year hopefuls. And I got some brews for the week. How about a brew for D. Wayne for always taking care of our waiver claims every season, all season? Appreciate that very much, D. Wayne. And another brew would be to the guys that always help out with the incentives each offseason, getting those player attributes updated in the CFM. Big brew for you guys. And a couple of brews going out to Bill and Cincy for their playoff race analysis. Always keeping us updated in the Discord channel of what's going on. last but not least, Brew, for the fans of the Kansas City Chiefs of the OMFL. You guys won back-to-back Super Bowls. That's insane. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs fans. And my lone boo of the week is to the NFL for being so stubborn and not moving the Super Bowl to a Saturday. Boo, NFL, boo. Back to Nate, back to Maniac. That's a wrap.
I'm gonna have to learn more about this Saturday thing. What's the deal with the Saturday?
It's nobody has to work the next day.
Oh,
Yeah, because I
see.
think everybody has to go work the next day, and so they would rather have the Saturday game so they could booze it up
Yeah,
and
I
not have to worry
suppose that
about going
makes-
to work the next
I
day.
suppose that makes sense. I don't know why this makes sense in my head. It's not going to make sense to anyone else, but I feel like Denver could be a dentist. He just got that sultry voice. I could see him working on my teeth, talking about the game and that voice that he has and that energy. He's just got the energy of a dentist. I don't know if he likes working on teeth. Okay, let's
Open
open up
wide.
the mailbag. Mr. Bill says, pick one AFC and one NFC coach that you feel has made the biggest improvement record-wise from last season to this season. I'm just going to toss that out there and let whoever wants to take it first take it.
Go ahead, Trey.
I guess you'd have to say Cincy, maybe. I don't know. He showed he was struggling last season, squeaked into the playoffs, and this year he's pretty well into the playoffs. NFC wise, Panthers, I guess. Gosh, it's hard. There's not really much difference in stuff this year.
I think those are pretty good choices there. My brain. I'm trying to rack like who was last. I think I could almost do that question in reverse, like who who didn't make the playoffs this year. That you're. I think if you look at a team that didn't make the playoffs, so I think you have to give the most one of the most improved teams. I think is the Patriots. If you look at his roster, what he did, what he drafted, and I know his record doesn't show he's 5-12, but I think he made some big improvements in this season that helped his team a lot. And then I think you're going to see another jump going into this next season. With another solid draft and these guys that he's got, it's going to level up a little bit more. And so I think you're going to see him take another step as well. And then I just have to just say that I think if you look at and this transition has been going on for a while with the Raiders. Last season he kind of came out of nowhere, squeaked into the playoffs, and then this year he's kind of been more solidified in his gameplay and stuff. So I mean, he's already got 10 wins, so he's done an exceptional job, and he's drafted well so far in the first couple drafts. So I think it's just going to go up and up from there for him.
I like Vikings Browns. Trying to go a little out of the box here. It's easy. I feel like the top teams have sort of all been there. Tough to pick. I like what Vikings and Browns have done. Two teams on the upscale. Browns right there, still fighting for a playoff spot here in week number 18. And the Vikings are adding to that win total, trying to turn the corner and make a run there in a division that's pretty wide open. A conference maybe isn't so wide open, but that last two, maybe all three of the wild card spots, totally wide open for one of those teams like the Vikings to make a run. Roger says, looking at the three wild card spots, who makes it basically AFC and NFC. We've already covered that, so I'm going to give you credit, Raj, because I love you. And then Bert says, sort of the way that you were asking, Maniac, name an AFC and an NFC team that missed the playoffs this season that you expect definitely to rebound and make the playoffs next season, and why did you pick them? Let's go with you, Maniac.
Okay. I definitely look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was in the playoffs last season, made it deep into the playoffs, played really well, and then with the switch over to all Madden or whatever it was, but the wheels just kind of fell off early on. But you could see towards the middle of the season, things kind of started turning a little bit better. Kev started getting better on offense, a lot more passing TDs and stuff. So it looked like, he kind of felt a little bit more comfortable with his team and with the settings. But I definitely see his team. He'll have a good draft, and he'll be able to maybe replace some of these guys that are aging a little bit on his team that maybe he couldn't get rid of. And I see him making a move. And then the one guy that on the AFC side that you have to talk about is Penguins, the Tennessee Titans. He's a great owner. He's
point.
coming to a team that's really in dire straits. I don't know what other way to put it, but he's managed to get 5 wins with that team as they are currently, and so he's going to have really top draft picks and able to have off season. And I see him definitely making a turnaround and getting this things rolling for his team.
Mr. Trey, what do you think?
On the NFC side of things, I definitely have to give respect to Bill in New York and the Vikings. I think he's on the cusp of finding his to the playoffs. I think facing a tougher schedule might help him out a little bit because it's going to prepare him for the wars that are ahead. I know I've grown accustomed to him being, the 1-2 seed for quite some time in the NFC North. And in the AFC, it's hard not to go with Penguins. He came in mid-season taking over a team that doesn't fit his style. I've already talked with him. That team's pretty much, to whatever extent he can, is blowing up and getting built to the way he likes to. It's going to be fun to see what he does with the offseason.
Yeah, Titans a really good pick, man, and that would be one that I would tend to lean to. I also want to pick Mr. Poopy Pants in the chat, but he's a good-looking young 20-something-year-old with this beautiful Puerto Rican accent and Puerto Rican hair and Puerto Rican complexion. He's out living life. He could care less about winning in this league anymore. And so I would have to go Browns for my AFC team. I just think I've talked about the Browns. They're right there. I think, darn it, I lost it. The other team that I was going to talk about. Let me get back over here because I'm going to remember once I see it. Jaguars are a team that you could definitely see turn the corner. Actually, the pick I did want to go with, because I was like, I've talked a lot about the Browns, the Chiefs, right? The Chiefs are always right there. They had a down season this year, but that is a very winnable division. I could see Kansas City getting it put together. Anytime you have Mahomes and some of these playmakers, he's got that young tight end. He's gotten rid of the running back. Like, he's got some pieces there. I'm picking the Chiefs to rebound. And then in the NFC, I'd have to go Commanders, another guy who took over a team that's right there on the cusp. He's kind of battling it out, not built for him. He's going to rebound. He's already made some moves. I could definitely see Bill getting it figured out with a really good defense. Got to get the quarterback play figured out, but look for him to make a run in the playoffs as well. All right, moving over to Mr. D. Wayne. After a season, let's get over here. Let me just put a little disclaimer here. I'm going to say some things that I haven't got to say to the board yet, so please don't hate me. Life's been busy. It's been very, very hard to keep up with, and so it just kind of is what it is right now. I have the president of this. Oh, I love it, Denver. I'm just giving you a hard time, but you do have a sultry voice. I could see you being a dentist and making me calm as you have to work on my teeth and talk about sports. I think you'd make a great dentist. Anyway, he says, D. Wayne says, after a season on All Madden, what is the biggest adjustment for both of you? So there's 3 of us here today, and I love that he signed it Wayne. Yes, Wayne. My biggest adjustment is don't delete the game. And as long as you don't delete the game, somehow that is a victory. Because I'm telling y'all, in that Seahawks game, we got that close. I'm telling y'all, when the ball bounced off 3 of my defenders into his tight end's hands and he ran it for a long touchdown, and then he scored when he was up 30-something with 2 minutes left or whatever, he decided to score a touchdown. I've been through a lot in my life, and I'm a pretty resilient fella. I've seen and done some tough things, and let me tell you, it took everything in me to not tell y'all all goodbye. Love you. Mwah. Have a good one. I got to go. So I have no adjustments to tell you because I just suck. So I don't know what adjustments you both have from your difference between All-Pro last season to All Madden this season.
Mr. Minute.
Yeah, I think the biggest adjustment was just how, if you looked at when we started the season, a lot of the guys throwing a lot of picks. I think the windows to throw the ball to the wide receivers was smaller. We still made some more tweaks and adjustments. I think I think we only made like one adjustment in the mid-season that I proclaimed out, and I think it was just a couple of just small, minute tweaks. But I think that was one of the biggest things, because when we talked about like the Bucks, his passing prolific offense, he came in and he just could not get anything going. And I just think that a lot of that was the biggest adjustments and stuff. But my disclaimer for all Madden is built 100% for the gamers that are the online guys that play tournaments. The whole deal with all Madden was the reason why they built that mode was for it to be a challenge for those guys, because they were the ones that were complaining about they can never get a good challenge against a CPU, blah 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 blah, whatever, to practice if they didn't have someone to practice against. So anyway, so with all that spiel and nonsense and stuff, I do think that was the biggest adjustment, though, was the passing and just the reaction from the defensive DBs and different things and stuff, just the speed of the game.
Yeah, and offensively, it was being a lot more patient with the run game. On the All-Pro, it seemed like my blocks developed instantly, and I was off to the races all the time. With All Madden, I have to be a bit more patient and wait for those blocks to actually fully engage before I try and burst by everybody. So it's been it's been a little bit chaos trying to figure out the run game, but I've come to pick it up here towards the end of the season. In terms of defensively, it's getting you back to being a user. Obviously, most people don't know I've moved in the middle of October, so I was on a wireless connection for the longest time, so it was really just benefited me to play more D-line instead of risking a player not responding to my thing due to lag. Now I have a wired connection back, and understanding that there's certain things I can and can't do while using. I got to get back to that. I'm starting to adjust. I think I caught on here the last weeks. I think I got 3 interceptions that were users. But that's definitely been fun getting back to the good old days of using linebacker.
I think that patience is such a key thing that a lot of people don't talk about. I also think if you just go to like contrast on your TV or your screen and just turn it all the way to 0, it goes black. You don't see anything. It just makes it a little bit more of an enjoyable experience to not actually have to watch this terrible game that we all play. Also, Denver, you better tell the president and you better tell HR that everybody deserves a 4-minute break, and they better watch who they're talking to and put some respect on your name, because you are the OMFL news anchor and you deserve 4 minutes to get that done. All right, last question, and this is where, why is a 40-something-year-old man, am I nervous about how I'm going to answer this next question? DeBronco Man says, what are your biggest takeaways about All Madden and All Pro after a full season? Personally, I love the little like personal touches people put on their questions. Personally, didn't feel much different to me. We all play the same sliders, so no sense in complaining about them. Game feels smooth to me. That feels like a shot across my bow, because all I've done is complain in my game, to be fair. I stay out of chat mainly because I'm trying not to just hang this all up and go find something better to do at my time. But I have said this several times, to the point where this, for the first time since taking back over the OMFL 7-8 years ago, whatever it's been, since we were grown folks for 2 seasons and then got the name back and started all the things, right? For those of you like Dwayne that have been with me that long, for the first time, I've given out, I don't mess with sliders and settings. I've given it to Maniac. I've said, you go figure it out. I will help test. I'll do whatever. But like, I'm sick of chasing my tail. This Madden also, There's two things that are undeniable. You might think it's the best game ever. Fine. But do that. That's awesome. I know, Bronco man, I'm just giving you a hard time, buddy. I got to try to be somewhat entertaining. We're blabbing for 2 hours for nothing. But this has been the most disengaged Madden in a long time. And that's saying something, because the last couple Mads have been pretty putrid. I've always been the Bronco man of the last couple Mads of like, I don't know why everybody hates it so much. I actually sort of enjoy it. But the big names out there that make sliders, all disengaged. We are losing owners left and right in the deuce and cannot find new owners. We are losing and have lost owners in the OMFL and are on the cusp of losing a handful of more owners. I've said it. I don't know. This is not about winning or losing for me. It really isn't, because losing a close game that's fun, I still have fun. I played Dwayne on accident. I don't even know how it happened on All Madden last season. I lost that game, but it was so fun, classic, it was an enjoyable experience. So it's not about winning or losing. And the reason I gave up settings to Maniac is because I just don't want people to think, well, Nate's just trying to find settings until he wins. Like, that's not it either. I don't complain. It is what it is. But late last season on All Pro, it wasn't even a big update, but they changed something. I don't know why my beads keep running off to the side here, like I'm leaning. I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, and the game started feeling consistent and smooth, even though all season everyone that had done anything had said All Madden's the way to go. The Deuce had already went to All Madden. They were like, it plays so much more smooth over there. It plays so much more realistic. And then we went to All Madden, and the wheels, for me, have fallen off. And they've fallen off for a lot of owners. The game doesn't feel consistent to me. It feels gimmicky. Like, if you run the gimmicks that work, totally it works. And if you don't have the skill positions to run the gimmicks that work or do the things that work, it just, yeah. Here's the thing I've been avoiding saying, and I'm just going to say it and deal with the repercussions. We're going back to All Pro. After talking it over, I was going to let the board make the decision, and I was kind of hem-hawing about it over the last couple of weeks, because I've been thinking about it for weeks now. I think we just have to make the call. We're losing owners left and right, and ultimately this is less to do about Nate's enjoyability and more about, can we keep owners playing this game? And Bird, right? Like Bird and I have talked about it. He's put it as a question. Bird's a big believer in play a Madden for 2 seasons. Or 2 years, 2 cycles, and always be a cycle behind. The issue about that, the biggest issue, is you can't survive as a league, because your owner base shrinks to such a small owner base. You can't take someone quitting, someone leaving, life taking them away. So I'm giving you a long scenic route before I turn it over to these two guys to say, we're going back to All Pro. We're testing All Pro sliders. Played a game last night. It felt a bit more smooth. It plays a I don't even know what to say anymore, because I feel like I'm saying the same thing I said about All Madden last year. So anyone could just say, well, you said, and you're right. You're 100% right. I don't know. I give up this Madden. I'm turning it over to Maniac. The biggest thing that we can't have is we can't keep losing owners. And I'm telling you, we're on the cusp of losing several more in the OMFL. We have no new ones in the Deuce, and we're having a hard time keeping people because no one wants to play All Madden. And so it's a catch-22 all around. At this point, I really don't care. I am just trying to survive this cycle in hopes that NCAA, which is not my favorite game, but I will play it because it's new and I just want to see what it feels like. And next year's Madden, whatever they call it, because they've already used Madden 25, will be what I'm looking forward to. So I've rambled. I've said a lot. I let the news out of the bag. We'll see where it goes from here, but that is our plan. We will finish out the season. We're not changing anything. We haven't changed anything in quite some time. But next season, after playing 2 seasons, 1 on each, actually 2 seasons of All Pro, 1 on All Madden, I think it's time to go to All Pro. We're going to finish on All Pro. Let's just get through this cycle and see how it goes. Because the biggest thing with All Pro, God, I keep saying I'm shutting up and I'm not shutting up. The biggest issue in All Pro was twofold: defensive awareness and pass rush. And it was like, let's go All Madden because we get the pass rush out of the box. It works. And you get a bit more defensive awareness. It feels like they've done something and now it's working on All Pro. We know how to get pressure with All Pro. And trust me, I played last night with, who were we? With Bills and Eagles. There's tons of pressure, and just, we played a quarter. We got to play more, but I feel like we can get there on All Pro. And it will keep owners and hopefully find new owners for the Deuce. So anyway, boy, I just took y'all the preacher route a long way around. I'll let anybody who wants to take it, take it.
Yeah, I will just talk about sliders since you handed it over to me and stuff, and I stuff like this. I've tried to learn. I've helped you with sliders before and stuff, but this season and this year, I tried to research as much as I could online to understand what guys were finding out, what makes this work, what makes that work, and I kind of like what we talked about last night. The different approach going into these sliders for the All Pro was not so much dumbing stuff down, but actually making the right adjustments. Because when we first came into this Madden on All Pro, I think we did make some adjustments here and there. I think we had the run blocking sliders all the way down to 5 and different stuff like that. And we've kind of seen some of the same things roll over with the all Madden. At times you see guys not making any movement at all to try to make a block. You're just why did you just stand there? Why did you just go to the second level when he just passed the guy that was running straight at me? And so a lot of times you make those, I think right now in all Madden we have the run blocking at 35 or 40. So again, below 50 everything starts dumbing down to make other things work, so but what we played on last night on the All Pro, the different approach was pretty much everything was right at that 50 mark, but then we took the tackling up to make the tacklers more aware to try to get off blocks rather than to make the blockers more stupid. And then the same thing with the pass rush, the holding slider for Madden, when you take it all the way up to an 85 or 90 range, the guys won't hold the blocks as long because the program is that the more they hold, they're going to get the holding call. So they actually let go of the guys after a certain amount of time. And so the less that slider is close to 50, they will, and that's where you see where guys have 10 seconds in the pocket to throw the ball to wherever they want to. So again, like I said, I've learned some of those things and what affects certain things. And so hopefully, that now, since I understand that, we can get into All Pro, because All Pro is built, that's the mainstay. That is the line that they build the game off of, and then they go and adjust it for all Madden, and then they adjust it the other way to rookie or pro, whatever it is and stuff. But all pro is the middle of the road. That's the base of the game is All Pro. And so anyway, that's my spiel.
Any thoughts, Trey?
Not really. I'm in the same lines as the Bronco man. There is slight differences, but nothing between All Pro and All Madden. I'll tell you what, though, I want it back on All Pro if it's me and him in the Super Bowl, because I want to beat him on All Pro. That's what you beat me on. I'm just that egotistical.
Oh, no, now you go get the victory in All Madden, and now there's a third matchup, right? So that's how that's supposed to play out. The chat's kind of blowing up about user defensive tackle. Again, I push for simplicity, and the board agrees. Every rule suggestion so far has not been simple. It's been on third down when the wind's blowing 7 miles an hour and you have an 85 overall speed defensive end, you can play defensive. It's just these confusing rules, and people never remember them. They get broke, and then no one wants to report it. And then I get this whole thing I got to deal with. And so it's we got to keep it simple. And what I think is going to happen, two things that I'll also announce on this show before we got to get out of here, because we are pushing a 2-hour show, and I'm waiting for my wife, who's been dealing with a toddler by herself, to go, what the hell are you doing? Okay. Two things. Number one, I would like to officially ask Trey if he has the time. Life seems to settle for you now, Trey. Love to have a 3-man booth here on Press Pass Live, because why can't we turn a 2-hour show into a 6-hour show and just quit our jobs and do this full time? So if you have time, space, that offer is going to be out there. And the second one is next Monday. I'm sure there's no way the playoffs are going to not be going still. So next Monday, what we'll do is we'll do a quick update on the playoffs, and then we'll look at our rules, and we'll just have like an open conversation. So Press Pass Live, mailbag, it can be about rules. We'll just talk about rules, concepts, thoughts behind why we do things the way that we do, and it'll be all about rules. And then hopefully we can find some time to call some games. I'll also say, before we go to one final thought, we'll go Trey, then Maniac, and then I'll close this out. We may extend the playoffs a hair. We did it last offseason because somebody was like on a trip and needed an extra 48 hours or whatever. I think we may do that again for Massimo in the AFC. I have a message out to him asking how long he would need. So we're playing with the idea. If it's too long, we won't. But if it's reasonable, 1-2 days, man, I don't care. That's what we're going to do. And also, since we did it last season, we're probably going to do it this season. We're going to, after the draft, stop in preseason week 1 for 24 hours so people can get their camp done, play a game if they want, and then sim all the way through week number 4 and extend it another 48 hours. It's just 48 hours. It's not a big deal, and it's worth that sort of trade-off. Last year after the draft, there were several of us in chat playing our camp, talking. It was just a fun vibe. So I think we're going to do that again. All right. One final thought, Trey, then Maniac, and then I'll close this out.
Well, congratulations to everybody that pushed records this year. I mean, there's potential for 3 receivers to go over 2,000 yards. Multiple of them can get plus touchdowns. All in all, it's a good way to find targets in the end.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting playoff. I do think there's going to be a lot of intriguing matchups, and I'm looking forward to again watching these, and hopefully we can squeeze in a time to call one of these games or something like that, because it's always fun to do. Just kind of touch on the defensive tackle thing. Like I think you'll see like all pro and the approach that we're going to look at. I think you're not going to see maybe the defensive tackles take over as much. I hope not. I know, like in the Deuce, we made a move to ban defensive tackle as of right now, but we haven't made any slider adjustments or whatever. But we had to do that because we had a defensive tackle that was going to have like 40, 50 sacks at the end of the season, so we just didn't want to do that. So we limited that.
Are y'all back on All Pro?
What was that?
Are y'all back on All Pro?
No, we're still in All Madden right now. Yeah. But that was the move that we made. Because we're mid-season, I didn't want to just change it up. But we'll definitely we'll be moving back to All Pro as well once we get to the off season.
Good show. Thanks, Trey, for doing a hot seat. Hot seats are always open. If you want to do a hot seat, make sure that you hit me up. We'll bring you on and do a hot seat like we did with Trey. You don't have to stay for the whole show. Just Trey is really good at the shows, has a lot, does a lot of homework, knows that things are going on. So I offered him to stay and keep hanging out with us. We're going to try to find some games to call. This week number 18 is going to have some pivotal games. I'll be playing late tonight. I think Maniac may be playing tonight. And so some pivotal games yet to be played out as we see who gets in and who doesn't get in. But make sure to keep following us. Make sure you have the bell icon so that if you didn't know we were calling a game, it'll notify you and let you know that we're calling a game. And worst case, just come hang out with me late tonight. It's gonna be pretty late. I gotta wait for Big Hurt to finish a game first, but should be around 10 o'clock Central Time. So come hang out with me. And tomorrow's Mardi Gras, so we'll be around and maybe find some games to call. And then for the playoffs, we'll find some other games to call. Guys, I love you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Maniac, Trey, thanks for a great show. We will see you on the next one. Make sure that you take care of yourself. You take care of those around you. I love you. We'll see you.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.